Although we've come to the end of the road, still I'm letting go, guys. This is the final episode of The Gist with Toyosi Phillips, and it has been an eventful but amazing ride. I want to say thank you to everyone at Sahara Studios who contributed to this show in one way or the other, especially Omoyele Showore for the platform that you have created. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course to my friends who were there from the beginning, like when this was just a dream in my head, those who supported. And of course, family, especially you, Mom. Thank you for the prayers. I cannot finish this thank you without saying thank you to fans of this show. Those of you who have actually made this show a part of your lives, allowing me to be a guest in your homes or your offices, depending on where you watch the show. I want to say thank you guys for being there, for your comments, for your contributions, for everything, really. I appreciate it. So I'm moving on to other things and I'll keep you posted. Follow me on my social media platforms at Toyosi Phillips on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll let you know what I'm up to. I'm leaving you with documentary filmmaker Tracy Thompson. She is the producer and presenter of Africa in the City, a very interesting documentary series, if I may say so. You guys need to watch it. And this interview was quite interesting, so I'm sure you would enjoy it. I say this every week because I mean it, and I really need you guys to believe that you can be absolutely everything you want to be. Please believe that. Thank you again, guys. Welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Toyosi Phillips.
The Gist.
With me right now is documentary filmmaker Tracy Thompson, and she has covered stories that people fear to touch. Honestly, I watched some of her films and I'm like, how did she get people to talk? How did she get this person to do this? So I'm really excited about talking to her today. And I want to say thank you for being here, Tracy.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So one story or do they call them films or movies? What do I call them?
So,
like short films?
Well, I would call it a series. That's what it's supposed to be. We're
Okay.
working on that, but it's a series.
Okay.
Documentary series.
Okay, so I watched one of the series and it was about African transgenders, and I was like, that is a topic people don't really talk about. Like, it's almost like a taboo in Africa, basically. You know what's going on with the whole homophobia thing. And,
Exactly.
Yeah, the gay laws. But how did you get African transgenders to talk to you, first of all?
I know, right? I actually had a very, very difficult time, but actually there is a pretty large community of African transgender people living in New York City, believe it or not. I've talked to, I feel like every single African transgender person in New York City, and they know people who are also transgender. But again, of course, a lot of them don't want to come out and talk about it just because of what might happen back home. But okay, so my character, or my friend, as I should say, because we are still in communication. How did I find her? Her name was Mo. Mo was connected. I was connected to Mo by another member of the African LGBT community. Yeah, and she was very open. She was had just relocated from Orlando, where she was working at Disney. And she was a transgender in Orlando. She had no problems in Orlando. Everyone accepted her fine. Before Orlando, she is Botswanan, and she came from Botswana. And so she was just in New York City, I think about 2 weeks when I told that story.
Oh, wow.
So she was ready to just share her story and come out and be known in New York City.
Wow, so she was a guy before and
Exactly.
then changed to a girl. What inspires your stories? Because you've had that, and then
Right.
you've had something on gays, in African gays as well. And then you've had different things ranging from fake designer bags to
No Taxi for Black Men.
No Taxi for Black Men and stuff like that. What inspires your stories?
So, that's a good question, right? Because everything just kind of comes out the blue sometimes. But I initially start with, hey, what am I interested in? What do I want to read about? What would I like to see on TV? That's one angle. And then another part of it is definitely kind of staying with the flow of current news stories. So I could read a news story that might be happening here, something that's a big deal in the U.S., And I would like to see how does that affect the African community or in Africa. And that's pretty much how I get my stories done, or how I figure out the ideas anyway.
Okay, so you're not African, are you?
I'm not African, but I found out that I am from, well, my mother's people are from Sierra Leone.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The first series I saw of you was when you went to get the DNA test.
Right.
What made you go checking your DNA out?
Well, I don't have an answer for that, for what made me do it, right? Because, like, I feel like, well, I can't speak for all African Americans. I'm African American, but, like, there's something that's naturally within a lot of us that just, we want to know, like, okay, what more is there? We know we just didn't end up here. People might not know that much about slavery and the repercussions of slavery, but we know we didn't just end up in, I'm from Alabama. So coming to New York City, I was like, you know what would be a cool story, because I saw a lot of African Americans who were on this, like, journey to, like, discover their ancestry. Like, a lot of folks are doing it now on YouTube and posting up their results and talking about it. I thought about it would be cool if I used myself as someone who's on a journey to find out where my ancestry lies. So
what did you do with the result?
They're in a box. But no. I was moving at the time, so they just kind of got lost in the shuffle. But I did take some photos, and they're all on Instagram.
Okay.
Forever in the world and the social media sphere.
So do you have any plans of going to Sierra Leone and trying to trace family?
Right. You know, I would love to. Y'all already know. I would love to go to Sierra Leone. I would love to find the village or the people who my mother's side comes from, but it's way down the line. Actually, I thought about doing, like, a part 3 where I travel to Sierra Leone and I, like, you know, just involve myself in the community and do some things and try to find a story, actually. But it didn't work out. But hey, who knows what the future might hold.
How did you get into documentary filmmaking?
That's another very good question. It just kind of fell in my lap. I always wanted to be like a news reporter or an anchor, actually, you know, who sat at the desk and, like, spoke about the news, right? That was my goal coming out of undergrad. But I began to realize that I wouldn't fit in that role. I, you know, wanted to have my hair natural and I wanted to speak a certain way. I wanted to wear my afro. That's just not what we see on TV today, unfortunately. I wanted to wear certain clothes. I wanted to be a little freer in my language. So I began to kind of evolve, and I realized that I was a bit more creative than just speaking about the news. I kind of wanted to tell the news. I had a natural eye for the camera. I could take nice photos. And I could film, and I understood how to tell stories even in my undergrad years. But I still didn't realize documentary would be the path. So after my graduate studies, I still was like, yeah, I'm going to be this journalist person where I'm, like, telling the news, being a reporter. But no. It dawned on me that, like, I want to share stories visually because I was just really gifted with the camera. Okay. So and now I think today I make documentary films. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention, Tracy is the host of Africa in the City, and it's produced by SaharaTV, and you can catch that on YouTube. What's the most interesting story you've worked on?
I have to say all of them, right? Because it's me behind every single story. However, I was really, really excited about fleeing Boko Haram inside survivor camps stories.
Yeah, that's for the internally displaced people, right?
Exactly. Okay. In Lagos, they were fleeing Adamawa State, fleeing Boko Haram in Nigeria. And for me, it was really exciting because I had basically come across something that no one else had access to. People never knew that a community had been living in a refugee camp in Lagos. No one knew about it. And even our guide who sent us to this certain area, he didn't even know it was there. So, like, he also just ran up on something and we were like, whoa, this is a story. So I was really excited about that, just to share something that no one else had shared before.
And what's the most difficult project? Like, maybe halfway you were like, you know what, why did I get myself into this?
How can you ask me?
Oh, is that going to be all your stories?
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. How can I even, like, I can tell you the easiest. Seriously, because a lot of these stories are very, very difficult to pull off. You got to think about just creating a documentary, trying to figure out a story, trying to get that story from your head to the edit system. Gosh, a lot of my stories have been very, very difficult.
Okay, you talked about the easiest. What's the easiest?
I've had a few easy ones. The knockoff, we produced one in my early days. The African knockoff hustle. It was pretty easy to produce because
was that the one? Sorry, was that the one about the designer bags?
Yes, the designer bags. We kind of like went around New York City and we asked folks about designer bags. We know a lot of people come from their respective countries and they get into the industry of selling like the handbags. And we wanted to ask folks what they think about it, you know, the profession itself, and also like where they get their bags from. A lot of folks buy the knockoff brands, so we just kind of like roamed New York City and we made that story. But it was fun and it was easy to pull off.
So what other projects are you working on now?
Well, we just released a project about tribal marks. We kind of looked at like the dying tradition of tribal marks, but yet how it's transforming into scarification. Now people are doing scarification. So we spoke to a beautiful young lady named Moniaz. She actually is a scarification muse. She has her scars or scarification done on her back and in her chest. We spoke to her, and we also found some older Nigerian people living here. They spoke about why it's important, why their family had tribal marks put on them. So we spoke about that.
What was some of the reasons? What was some of the reasons they gave?
So the older Nigerians were in like the 85 age range. And they said for them, it was just like a part of the family. So the family would always know who their child is. Okay. And then some mentioned, you know, the intertribal wars back then and some things. But mainly it was just like a family-like tradition, yeah. Okay. So like I guess, you know, the village would be large enough so that people can go and know that you're from this family. And one guy actually told me a story about how someone had, I guess he had got lost during a certain period of some sort of like tension. And then he returned maybe like a few years later, and then he showed up at a home, and the guy at the home in that particular village was like, I know who your family is because you have this type of mark on your face. But yeah, so that was really cool, right? I learned a lot myself. The only thing is that we just didn't have a lot of time with Moniaz because we're in New York City and she was visiting from London. It would have been good to follow her a bit more, and, you know, it would have been good to find someone who could actually do the scarification to show what the process is like today. Yeah. But it would have been good to also go back to Nigeria or wherever in Africa where it's still taking place, tribal marks, and see it done. But that's in the next episode to come, so you stay tuned. You never know what's going to happen.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What advice would you give to upcoming documentary filmmakers?
Well,
especially regarding funding.
Yeah. Well, someone needs to give me some advice about funding. Yes, please. If you know something about funding, please leave it in the comments below. But definitely though, like you can't even enter this field if you don't have the passion for it. You always got to know if the passion is there, then you probably can make something happen. It's not easy. Documentary storytelling is very, very difficult, but you just have to love the craft and just know that your passion is there. That's all I got to say to people who want to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Tracy Thompson, everyone. Please watch her show, Africa in the City, and you get that on SaharaTV's YouTube channel.